Culver,
Present.
Councilmember Marshall,
Present.
Councilmember Sassen,
Here.
Councilmember Shrubnik. Here. Councilmember Lutsis,
Here.
Deputy Mayor O'Kane,
Here.
Mayor Herbig,
Here.
all present.
Next on the agenda is our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the city of Kenmore is situated upon the ancestral lands of the Snohomish, Snoqualmie, Soxhawtl, Duwamish, Stillaguamish, Tulalip, Suquamish, Muckleshoot, and other tribes who are part of the Coast Salish peoples. We recognize and express our deepest respect for their enduring stewardship and profound relationship with this land, which they have cherished and protected since time immemorial. We honor the First Peoples, acknowledge their vibrant cultures, and commit ourselves to learning from their wisdom in our journey to promote justice, equity, and mutual understanding. We pledge to stand alongside these communities in acknowledging past injustices and working towards a future that respects and celebrates the diverse heritage of this land. And now, if you would all please stand and join our city manager in the flag salute.
Is this mic on? Oh, great. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Unless there are any objections, the agenda will stand approved as published. Hearing no objections, the agenda is approved unanimously. Mr. City Manager, where is the fun?
I'm going to turn that over to Stephanie Lukash to answer that question.
Thank you so much. Well, you can see where the fun was this afternoon. We had a group of the city team, female and female identifying members of the city team got together for a photo to celebrate Women's History Month. So we took it right outside City Hall, and you can see all those smiling faces who are all grateful to be part of the city team. So happy to have done that earlier today. Thanks.
Yeah. Brings us to public comments. We want to welcome everybody to the council's meeting. We ask that you please address your comments to the mayor and the council. Folks are going to have 3 minutes to speak. Please state your name and city of residence and keep within your allotted time. And of course, we ask so that everybody feels welcome and safe here, that folks refrain from booing, clapping, heckling, yelling, and other interruptions. The meeting is being recorded and streamed for transparency. Again, thank you for being here and for sharing your input respectfully. Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. We have 3 guests on site wishing to speak and 1 online. Amir Ahmadi, Agnes Higgins, Elizabeth Mooney, followed by Stacy Valenzuela online. Please approach the podium.
Should we start? Good evening. My name is Amir Ahmadi. First of all, thank you for this opportunity. I'm a resident of Kenmore. I live by cross-section of 181st and 62nd Avenue Northeast. Recently, I saw some surveyors that they were surveying the street, and I approached them and I asked them, what is the surveying for? And they informed me about the 181st Street sidewalks. Subsequent to that, I reached out to the city, not the city engineer, the engineer of the project from the website from the city, and asked for the contract plans, as well as I asked a couple of questions. One question I had was, currently there is a sidewalk between 61st and 62nd on the north side of 181st, but there is no sidewalk at all between 62nd and 63rd. And if I'm not mistaken, the project goes from 61st to 63rd. So at this point, we do have a sidewalk on the north side of the 181st between 62nd and 61st. And my question was, if there is going to be sidewalk built on the south side, would the parking going to be maintained? And the engineer told me he doesn't know. I asked for the plans, so hopefully the plans will give me a better understanding of what it is. My comments here is, while I realize that city wants to maintain continuous sidewalk on both sides of the streets, there are 2 condominium complexes and 2 businesses between 61st and 62nd that they utilize the parking on the south side. If the parking goes away, they basically have no place to park. There are no parking. There are only maybe about 3 spaces on the north side within that block. There is no parking on 61st. There is no parking on 62nd. So those people and the businesses don't have any place to park. I would like to plead with the city and the council members to maybe not build in the sidewalk on the south side, because we do have a sidewalk on the north side. But I understand in other areas where there is no sidewalk, it makes sense to build a sidewalk. That's what I'm here to talk about. Hopefully you consider that, and the projects will accommodate the residents in that area, because they basically have no place to park. That's pretty much my comments.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm supporting him.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Agnes Miggins? Okay. Elizabeth Mooney?
Hi, Elizabeth Mooney, and I'm a resident of Kenmore, and I really appreciate being here. I couldn't come early for the party, so I wanted to make sure I came to public comments to just say, hey, Rob Carlindsey, you know, I've known all the city managers, and I hope none of the other ones are here right now. But you're my favorite. Sorry, Steve and Fred. But above all else, I think what you brought was an open ear to promoting, saving, restoring streams and salmon restoration. And I know it hasn't been easy, but thank you for coming to Streamfest. Thank you for encouraging us as a community of nonprofits, especially People for Environmentally Responsible Kenmore and Snow King Watershed Council, working with Kenmore Heritage Society. I mean, just you helped us pull together as a community, and you know, just thank you. We don't plan to miss you much, because we're hoping that you come back for Streamfest, or we'll work out dates so that you can come back and let the fry, the salmon that we're raising right now, to go into Chitchathel. And I know about the salmon that are going to go into Swamp Creek. And we're going to talk to all those King County people about saving money by building bridges. And we're going to work together and try to get the word out. So come to our meetings when you can. And when we get out to Moses Lake, we'll say hi. Thank you, though, for being a really great city manager that brought your family here. And, you know, you've been really in the limelight a lot. And I will definitely tell all my friends who have said anything, even a little bit not perfect about you, I will say, hey, he's a good guy. All right. Thank you.
Stacy Valenzuela, can you hear us? Stacy Valenzuela, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
We hear you. Go on.
Thank you. Stacy Valenzuela, Kenmore. My neighbors along the slough brought forward in 2018 their disappointment that our neighborhood park on 175th, after 8 surveys, was named after a settler in 2013 instead of Native American name. We appreciate others strongly speaking for this, and the council righting the wrong by adopting the original name of the Longhouse and Camp, the Achadis. Thankful for adopting land acknowledgement and the story pole as well. A few other Kenmore neighbors brought forward missing in Kenmore was a celebration or monument for local veterans, as well as the POW flag being flown. Driven to right this wrong, we got the post office to purchase and post the flag. We had the first Veterans Day celebration, then surveyed and worked with several local veterans on a memorial. I heard at the last meeting confirmation that Rob Carlindsey encouraged others to infiltrate, then compete against our group with his directive. Sadly, my neighbors are correct. Most decisions are made before residents even have a chance to weigh in. Jumping ahead to exclude and eliminate resident participation is not valuable. only serves the small minority and causes reworking of projects and ordinances. We voted in council to listen to the many sides and represent our concerns on issues. We, the people of Kenmore, continually come forward, being proactive, staying involved by sharing our concerns over and over every few months. Speak up on wasting money, tax dollars, hiring, ignoring the WACs, the millions spent on a few clubs, number of consultants, the switching of projects, variances on permit, posting permits as we try to protect and preserve our tree canopy, ecosystems, rivers, wetlands, and waterways. I hope the city council takes new direction with this chance to change, with valid participation, hearing, and inclusion of the many concerned residents that give so much of themselves to protect our health, air, water, wildlife, fish, and the beauty that is the treasure of Kenmore. Please hear and support our cries for inclusion, transparency, and democracy now. Thank you. I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Valenzuela. Mayor Herbeck, that is the end of our speakers list.
All right, Mr. City Manager, okay. It's the Deputy City Manager. Could we make sure that our traffic engineer or our engineer folks reach out to, okay, thank you. That brings us to our consent agenda. The Chair would entertain a motion to approve our consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye. Any opposed? The consent agenda is approved unanimously. That brings us to presentations. Super Co-Creator Awards presented by City Manager Rob Carr-Lemsey. Of course.
All right, this is one of my favorite topics. You may recall that back in 2015, we had Peter Kageyama come out and teach us about co-creators and love notes and how to have an emotional connection with your city, not just what we call a pothole connection with your city. And that was really inspiring for me and I think for a lot of people. And from that event, our For the Love of Kenmore initiative was born. A lot of cool things have spawned from that. And we have a lot of co-creators in our community, people who give of themselves, give their time, their talents, their energy to making Kenmore a better place. They create content for the city. They don't just consume content. And the number of those co-creators is too long to list. There's just so many wonderful people out there, including everybody up here on this dais and folks in the audience. But I have taken upon myself to designate super co-creators. And you remember that we gave a super co-creator award to Sarah Solom Hayashi before she moved back to the Midwest a few months ago. And I've been meaning to hand out the other super co-creator awards. But I've just been waiting for the right time. And this, I guess, is the right time because this is my last city council meeting. I wanted to do it at the next State of the City, but I figured that if I'm going to have any involvement in it, I better do it now before I leave. So there are 4 people in addition to Sarah from a few months ago that I would especially like to highlight, and they are here in this room. And I'll call them up one at a time. Suzanne, could you come up first? Yeah. So we recognized Suzanne just a few weeks ago when she handed the reins over to Morella Alejandrino for the Kenmore Heritage Society. And a lot of that is going to be repeated tonight, but I just wanted to make sure that that Suzanne knows how much we appreciate all that you've done for the community. You know, you were president of the Kenmore Heritage Society for a number of years, and you took that organization into an entirely new level. You did such a great job of telling Kenmore's story, our past and our present stories. You helped teach the community about Kenmore's roots and our heritage. You did such a great job with the McMaster Award, putting on numerous events, or what I call love notes, for the community. And just as, probably just as important as anything, is you developed a relationship with the tribes, and you were a vital role in helping us have that relationship, and helping us get the park renamed, helping us make connections in other areas, including the land acknowledgement. So you've also served on numerous boards and commissions, including the Planning Commission, the North Shore Fire District Commission, the North Shore Utility District Commission, the Evergreen Hospital District Board, the Evergreen Health Foundation Board of Trustees, the North Shore Senior Center Board, and I'm sure I'm missing a few more. I've also seen your role at the Chamber of Commerce. You've volunteered many, many hours in the role of an ambassador and in other roles at the Chamber. And you've been a key member of the Kenmore Business Alliance. You've also had a big presence at our farmers market, and really helped get that off the ground. And last but not least, are you ready for this? Suzanne helped us create the Hank Aaron mascot costume. Like, really, it wouldn't have happened without her. She raised most of the funds, and she initiated it and got it going, with my coworkers' help, of course. But so for all those reasons, I want to give you our Super Co-Creator Award. So here's a certificate. And we also have a special gold medal for you. So that is, and it says, Suzanne Greathouse, Super Co-Creator. For the love of Kenmore, we appreciate you. And it has Hank on the back. So, all right, can I put it around your neck? All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Bye. So you can go ahead and sit down, and then I'll call all four of you up for a picture. Okay. All right. Thanks. All right. So the next one is Tracy Bonashinsky. Tracy, come on up. So Tracy has been so involved in the community. Again, I won't be able to capture it all, but back in 2019, November 29th, 2019, to be specific, Tracy started an incredible phenomenon that has blown my mind and exceeded expectations, and actually exceeded anything I've ever seen in any other city. And that is, she started a volunteer project to help do restoration along Swamp Creek in 2 locations, at Wallace Swamp Creek and also at what we call the wild end of Plahwades Park along Swamp Creek. And so you put on these volunteer work party events about 3 Saturdays a month from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. So imagine dedicating 3 of your Saturdays a month for 5+ years. All right, well, let's just go with what I said, okay? But just here's some statistics on what she's been able to produce. So she leads these, and she always gets people to come. Saturday after Saturday, she gets a consistent showing of people. But she's had total number of volunteers, and again, some of these are people that keep coming back, but close to 2,000 volunteers have come to these events. Yeah. Total number of volunteer hours, 5,042. The 2 work sites at Wallace Swamp Creek and the south site at Tlahwadis. Total square feet of restoration area, 256,000 square feet of restoration area. They've planted over 700 native plants. And how many blackberry roots? Too many to count. Whenever the volunteers are digging up blackberry roots, there's always kind of a little competition going on to see who can dig out the biggest root. And there's even been a trophy made of like the biggest root. So it's not just about restoration, which is vital and important, but it's about bringing community together. And Tracy does a really great job at that. She has circle time at the beginning and at the end of each time. So people get a chance, they all stand in a circle at the beginning. She gives them instructions. She gives people the chance to say their name and why they're there. And then at the end, when it's time to wrap up at 2 o'clock, she also brings everybody into a circle. And we often talk about something we learned, something that went well and maybe not so well during the volunteer event. And it's just a really great way for people to connect with each other while we're saving the environment. So Tracy's also been on the Planning Commission, as you know. She's our current chair. She's a board member of the Snow King Watershed Council. She's a board member for People for Environmentally Responsible Kenmore. She's also a founding member of the North Shore Social Justice Action Group. And she is a founding member of my favorite, K-pop, not the Korean band, but Kenmore for People-Oriented Places. She also serves on the King County Parks Levy Oversight Board. And she reminds me that her very most important work is being a parent to her 12-year-old son who's here. So, hey, Henrik, good to see you. So with that, I will give you the Super Co-Creator Award certificate. And the medal. Now, this one's slightly different than the rest because she is indeed a super co-creator, but in this case, we wrote Eco Co-Creator. So. Okay, we're halfway done. Maura Query, could you come on up and could you bring Lucy too? Would that be all right? Because they really are partners in this. So I first met Maura at a For the Love of Kenmore event. And that's where we first met. And the reason she came is because I had already noticed her work as a co-creator. Maura had already been doing things like organizing events to make scarves for the folks who live at Mary's Place and things like that. And so then I really learned all the things Maura does and continues to do as a super co-creator. In fact, she got noticed by the local news, and at one of her events, one of the TV channels came and took, filmed what was going on, and they interviewed Maura. And I'll never forget this quote that Maura said. She said, if you're looking for opportunities to serve and connect with your community, she says, if you cannot find the opportunity, then create the opportunity. And that's what Maura does. She creates opportunities for herself, her family, and for the community to serve. So just a few statistics on that. Maura and Lucy have organized 7 scarf makings events for people who are less fortunate. 7 events for a total of 2,876 scarves that she's done. Another event that she regularly coordinates and puts on is Cards for Senior Citizens. She's done 11 of those, whether it's Valentine's Day cards or Christmas cards, 11 events since 2017. And over 2,600 cards have been made for our seniors in the area. She's also organized other events, card making events, 137 thank you cards for hospital workers in 2021 for their work during the pandemic. That was amazing. And then 25 thank you cards for Puget Sound energy workers in 2024 for their work to restore power after the bomb cyclone. So, and if that weren't enough, she's organized since 2017, 9 trash pickup events, mostly at Log Boom Park, right? Yeah. Over 860 pounds of garbage have been picked up. 860 pounds in those 9 events. And she always has really great turnout at these events. And if that wasn't enough, she's organized 4 children's business fairs since 2019, 1 per year. And she has an average of anywhere between 15 to 68 vendors, and each year it grows. This last year in 2024, she had 68 vendors. And what do I mean by vendors? We mean kids like Lucy. Lucy's been a vendor every time, right? Yeah, where she takes over the hangar in the town square, and these kids get to come and show their wares and their products, and they get to sell them, and they get to learn about business, all because of Maura. Yeah. So for these and many other reasons, I want to give you a Super Co-Creator Award. So here's the certificate. It also has Hank on it. Very much. All right. Last but not least, we have Sherry Baker. Can you come on up? Sherry has her supporters with her too. Yeah. So you may recognize the name Baker, no relation to David Baker, right? But it has been such a thrill to know you these 13 years. And you really helped us get the waterfront activities going. So back in 2013, 2014, the city purchased what we called the Tweet property at the confluence of the Sammamish River and Swamp Creek. And from then we said, okay, now that we bought this property, what can we do with it? And it already had buildings on it, and it was all kind of turnkey, ready to go, had a dock. And Sherry and a bunch of other volunteers got together and started the Kenmore Waterfront Activities Center. And Sherry has been either the treasurer or the president of Kenmore Waterfront Activities Center since 2015. In fact, you've been the president of KWAC from 2017 till now. And the work that goes into that is, you can't cover it all in a short little speech. All the board meetings that you have to organize, all the volunteer hours and the coordinating of all the boats and purchasing the equipment. You also put on a bunch of events and races, the park cleanups, the annual waterfront fair that you put on, the food drives which benefit local groups such as Mary's Place and the Kenmore Food Pantry. And you brought on the Outrigger Club. And how do you pronounce that, by the way?
Uiva for Puget Sound.
Uiva, yeah. Are they here? Yes. So there's so much work that goes into all this. And I also have to say that you've put up with David all these years as the mayor. So is he here? Oh, where is he? Oh, there he is. Oh, I didn't think you were here. But thanks for, the city provides the hardware, right? Which is the land and the buildings. You provide the software. You actually activate the water and bring people there. And you've brought hundreds of people to the water to experience it for the first time. One thing I love about the Dragon Boat program is that if you're a regular person that hasn't paddled before, you're more than welcome to try it out. And how many free paddles do you get? Free times?
Each club has 3 free.
Yeah, so you get to try it out for 3 times at no cost. And then if you like it, then you get to then you can join and be part of the Dragon Boat Club or the Outrigger Canoe Club for a whopping $100 a year, right? Yeah. And that hasn't changed in the 10 years. That's been the same rate. So, oh, it just went up. Okay. But anyway, so just think about that and how, and that's one thing I love about Kenmore's model of doing business is we create this, we set the platform, we provide the hardware, and the community provides the software and the programming. And I think it's a great partnership and it really helps people connect with their community. So for all those reasons, Sherry, I want to give you the Super Co-Creator Award. So here's the certificate. And here. All right, thank you. Can you stay up there? And can the other 3 come up? Yeah, come on up. So what I thought would be good is to have you all come up in front of the flags and take a picture with the city council. But before I do, I ran across a really cool quote the other day that reminded me of all 4 of you. And Sarah out there in Minnesota. And this is a quote by an ancient Indian philosopher named Patanjali. And listen to this quote and tell me if this describes them. He says, when you are inspired by some great purpose, some extraordinary project, all your thoughts break their bonds. Your mind transcends limitations, your consciousness expands in every direction, and you find yourself in a new, great, and wonderful world. Dormant forces, faculties, and talents become alive, and you discover yourself to be a greater person by far than you ever dreamed yourself to be. Doesn't this describe our super co-creators? There you are. So thank you for all you've done, and I thank you in advance for all you'll continue to do for the city. So, Your Honor, if it's okay for them to take a picture with you, yeah.
Thank you for that, Rob, and thank you to the super co-creators that are here today. That brings us to an item that I've both been looking forward to and not looking forward to, recognizing our city manager for his years of service at the city council, at the city of Kenmore. I'd like to open up to council members for if folks want to make any comments now. And then we've got a couple other things lined up. So council, anybody want to jump in? Councilmember Lutzis.
Yes. Although it's very hard to follow what I heard the community express earlier. There's just so much love for this individual right here. Thinking back, spending a little bit of time thinking about the impact that Rob has made, you know, it's hard to really bring together just how big of an impact he's left on our community, on its individuals, and myself. Thinking professionally, I have to say, from what I've gathered, he's certainly among the best in the profession. He looks to mentor those coming up in public service. It's funny when I go to conferences and speak with other peers from other councils and things like that. So many of them from across the state have heard of Rob. So many different staff members from across the state have known him and their work with him. And he's had a lasting impact far beyond just our borders. Within our city, I think certainly his impact can be seen all over the place. It's physical infrastructure, looking at the hangar, which will always be there, with a new park space that we have, and so much more. A lot has been done under his leadership, even looking to walkways and waterways. We have safer walking paths and bike paths. There are new community groups that have been supported and helped to grow and flourish with his assistance. He's had certainly an impact on our city. We have a lot of amazing people in our community, and I think our super co-creator recognition highlights a few of those individuals. But Rob is the person who also supports and brings to light their work by highlighting it, by using his time to show up and support events, to bring awareness to them and do so much. That support is there. He brings these people together. Personally, he's a genuine, good human being. He's authentic and truly loves our community. I think we've all been individually touched and impacted by him in one way or another. I think we see him doing so much, it's hard to imagine that a single person can do as much as Rob has done. It seems like he's everywhere all at the same time and always meeting new people and trying to make an impact. He's touched the lives of so many individuals, including myself. You know, I don't think it's any secret that I'm certainly one of the younger ones up here. So having grown up and been raised in this community and seeing what it looks like, seeing that model of civic service, of service to the community, of love for Kenmore, he's a big reason why I developed that passion for public service and a big reason why I'm here today. I mean, even thinking about my time and deciding whether to step into this new role, I had to think about, you know, what kind of seat partner I'd have, and being able to sit next to him is truly an awesome thing. His dedication and inspiration is truly felt. I mean, I think I've truly been impacted by all that he's done. I know that we will certainly miss him. I don't think that extends beyond, or I don't think that is just felt by the people within this room. But, you know, I hope that all of us feel that you're going to go out there and keep doing great things, and that you're always welcome back here in Kenmore, and we truly do appreciate you, all that you've done, and we're grateful for your service. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
We're sure lucky we've had you here for 13 years. It is hard to say something fresh and new after all the wonderful things that have been said about you. But one of the things that I truly admire is your sense of wonder. your ability to see possibility and bring out the gifts of those that are around you, whether it be staff, community members, and even council. You have a way of opening hearts and creativity that lend themselves to actually bringing things to fruition that have really, truly had a beautiful impact on our community. Things that I love, actually, I'm just going to before going there. Your ability to hold us together through really challenging times. As we heard earlier, COVID, you led this city through COVID with heart and held our community and staff and council together so that we were able to get really big things done during an incredibly challenging time. And I look around and I think about the impact on our community of the hangar and the buildings and the West Sammamish Bridge and Tlahwadees Park and the reopening of Log Boom and St. Ed's, these major projects that are lasting. But that sense of this thing that you bring that I think is incredibly unique is you actually bring the word love to civic duty, for the love of Kenmore, bringing our ideas together. And where's the fun? Like bringing fun and joy to what might be just kind of, I don't know, I was an art major, so I'm just gonna say what might appear to be boring and tedious to some people. You actually bring the fun and the joy. You actually see how creating opportunity, listening to people, giving people the opportunity to shine and is what creates community. And I'm sure thankful. You really, oh, and one more thing. The ear that you have held for me personally, and I'm sure every single council member, you being there at 10 at night if I had a call or in the middle of the weekend, answering the call, listening, actually truly listening and being able to understand the decisions that I was trying to go through and understand. Your true leadership and compassion are things that really we're so fortunate to have experienced here. I'm glad you still have a home here. Your family, the gift of meeting your family. I mean, it's wonderful. So thank you. So much more I could say, but just with all my heart, thank you. Moses Lake, they're very fortunate. They only get you for hopefully 5 years. They're not going to get you 13, like we get more. But really, truly, thank you. And I know Moses Lake is very fortunate, and I know you're going to thrive there. So thank you.
Councilmember Shrupnik?
It is indeed hard to say unique things. I don't know that these will be unique, but they are from the heart. Our residents said a lot, and it's all so true. And you'll be hearing themes. I want to thank Rob for all his years of service to our community. He's been the driving force for so many of our community priorities. He's the guy with the vision, or a guy with the vision. There's that old saying of, some people see things as they are and say why, and some others dream things that never were and say why not. And I think Rob definitely embodies that with the Tweed property that we talked about, now beautiful Tlahwadees Park, For the Love of Kenmore, Lake Point, our city's mystery, our housing, downtown, our environmental initiatives, so many of these things he's driven. And he has the ability to nurture a team of skilled and dedicated, truly driven public servants to share the vision and to understand the value of doing the work to accomplish it, to create a welcoming, respectful city where all people can thrive and love where they live. I think I've heard that somewhere. And on a more fun note, he's the guy who almost always says yes. Yes, we'll go after that grant. Yes, we can take on that new initiative. Yes, we can support that fun event. And yes, we can do the hard stuff that furthers our city, wait for it, on its upward trajectory of becoming. But most importantly, he does it with grace, humility, emotional intelligence, and a passion for building community that has made it a true pleasure and honor to work with him these past years. So for all who Rob is, I say thank you.
Councilor Marshall?
Thank you, Rob. I think I'll just talk about the things first that I was most interested in, which is a very narrow way of looking at the world, which you have not had that vision. You've got a all-encompassing vision. And I think it's part of that, what we used to call relentless incrementalism on projects that just took out so much effort and so much work, or something that happens in leaps and bounds because you got it done and you've inspired people to get it done. So the thing that's closest to me is that work, continuing work on 61st and getting those sidewalks in after COVID, after a cement strike, after I don't know how many other issues, but going forward with it and sticking with it. And now in May, I think we're sending it out for bids. That is going to affect and better so many people's lives. And it took, I think, commitment, though it's an unsexy project in a way. It took great commitment to get that and to see that through. I was always talking about the pool, and I'll keep talking about a pool, you know, on and on as long as I'm here. Okay, we don't have one in Kenmore yet, but what did you do every time I was asking about it? Who was the fount of ideas who kept coming up with idea after idea? It was you. You said, okay, yes, let's talk to Bothell. All right, well, there was not much happening with our neighbor to the east, but then it was, okay, maybe we can get something done with the city of Kirkland, and we can look into Shoreline, and we can look into surrounding jurisdictions. You brought forth an idea about a private venture for that pool. You did not give up. And so, you know, though that's still part of our challenge, I respect you and thank you for your energy and commitment in driving it forward, at least as far as we went and what we did. That's, you have my great thanks for that. Also for your leadership in Tlachwadiz Park and striding forward after the whole process went through and got renamed. That's something I view that you have great integrity on. And I think probably it's integrity. I think that's the thing I take away from this. Whenever I could ask you about something, about whatever it was like, yes, you know, we'll look into it, or this is how it is. I never had any doubt whatsoever. And that means a lot. And so then besides my pet projects, as everybody has said, there's like the town square, thousands of people every year. Yeah, I grew up here. We didn't have anything like it. It is cool. It's cool to bring your kids. It's cool to hang out. It's cool to see events there. It's cool to have a farmer's market. We never had that. Even as I think leadership in terms of something as eternal as the snow, when you've got, you know, growing up here again, we didn't have good snow plowing and all that. You got that done under your leadership. Nancy Ousley got the Puget Sound Energy franchise redone. We have not had the outages that we used to have. Again, growing up here, everybody can remember up to a week or a week and a half or 2 weeks. It's way better now. So that's just all I feel for the things from my narrow perspective. I know yours is not narrow, yours is comprehensive, and thank you a million.
Councilor Sassen?
Well, Rob, primarily the thing I'm taking home right now is that I came too late to the party. You know, 1 year on council when everybody else got 12 more. I'm feeling it right now. You are well and truly one of the finest people I've ever worked with. I'm so grateful. Like Jack, we met pulling blackberries, met you and Seth and Sally and Tracy and Nancy and pulling blackberries. We got muddy, we got dirty, we worked out some things. And that experience is in no small part what cemented my choice to be here. And so I'm grateful for that. And I really, really enjoyed this evening so much. I feel like you giving your Super Co-Creator awards, what a gorgeous capstone to your career, to watch you elevating and celebrating the gorgeous people in our community who inspire you and inspire us and are of service. This alone was a gift, a beautiful party gift to us. So thank you. May you be well. Thank you. May you be well. Don't be strangers.
Councilmember Culver.
I definitely can't top any of this, so I will keep mine short and sweet. Thank you, Rob. Knock 'em dead out there. Go big, do things. Go do big things. Go forth and conquer. And shout out to the co-creators. That was lovely. And yeah, appreciate you.
Rob, I've been very lucky to have had you as the city manager during my time on council. I sat in the audience when there were other city managers, and I would not have wanted to be on some of those councils. I appreciate the professionalism and the work ethic that you bring to this. When I talk to folks about, I've had to talk about you quite a bit the last couple of months. When I talk to folks about our city manager, I describe you as the most professional person I've ever met. And I mean that as a high compliment. You are the most professional, even-keeled, thoughtful, honest, and frankly curious, one of the most curious people I've ever worked with. And you inspire people to dig a little bit deeper sometimes, reach a little further, maybe take a swing at something that they didn't think they could take a swing at. You've done that for our community. The Hangar, I think, is a prime example of that. I remember when you came to us with this wild-eyed idea to take all the money that we got from selling all of the properties over there and pouring it into one place. And it sounded a little, it sounded a little out there when we spent, we got $4 million selling everything else and we're pouring it all into one place. But then every single time I go to Diva, or every single time I'm reading a book sitting next to Hank on his bench out there, and I'm watching the kids and I'm watching people come together as community, that's something that you helped do. And that's something that you came to council with. And it's really changed the city. And that's just, one small example. Folks are talking about a lot of the other stuff. The thing that I really think is special, and it was highlighted, and this has already been talked about a bit, but is, government can be very boring, and government can say, it's really easy for government to say no to people. That's kind of government's default setting. You changed the culture to say yes to folks. Folks wanted to do things to improve the city. And you built a culture where your staff works with folks to figure out how can we get to yes and how can we make this happen? Because by giving people that, by changing that culture, you help nurture these folks to grow and become bigger co-creators and do bigger and better things. And it makes the city a better place and it gets more people involved. And we've seen that with a lot of the folks that were highlighted earlier today. And that's just not something you see in other cities. So I just want to thank you for your time. I'm going to really miss having you around. And I hope that you bring the fun to Moses Lake. Now, got a couple other things. One, whereas Rob Carter Lindsay has served as city manager of the city of Kenmore since April 2012, leading with vision and actively creating a thriving community where all people love where they live. And whereas his leadership style has been defined by relationship building, collaboration, and his steadfast belief in creating an environment where ideas flourish and partnerships thrive. And whereas Rob is known widely among city staff, not only as a strategic and dedicated leader, but also as someone who truly loves Kenmore's beauty, often encouraging others to appreciate and protect Kenmore's parks, trails, and waterfront. And whereas Rob is also known as a prolific reader who is always ready with a new leadership book to share. And whereas during his tenure, Rob has played a pivotal role in many major achievements, including the West Sammamish Bridge project, For the Love of Kenmore events, Kenmore Love Notes, Sound Transit 522 Bus Rapid Transit, the Kenmore Boathouse, walkways and waterways projects, including sidewalks and bike lanes on Juanita and 68th, the renovation of Log Boom Park, the creation of Talkwadi's Park, and the boardwalk and improvements at Rhododendron Park. And whereas more accomplishments include the creation of the hangar in Town Square, the city's first climate action plan, the city's response to the pandemic, including the American Rescue Plan Act projects, economic development efforts, including the Michelin Key Award-winning Lodge at St. Edward State Park, human services work to help the city's most vulnerable residents, the financial sustainability plan, the diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility strategic plan, and so many more accomplishments, ensuring Kenmore's continued growth and success. And whereas Rob's optimism, kindness, and ability to bring people together have left a lasting imprint on City Hall and the broader community, inspiring those around him to lead with heart and purpose. And whereas Rob is moving on from Kenmore to be the next city manager for the city of Moses Lake, and whereas, while Kenmore will miss his leadership, we're grateful for his many contributions and the legacy of teamwork, innovation, and community spirit he leaves behind, and we wish him all the best in his future endeavors. Now, therefore, I, Nigel Herbig, Mayor of the City of Kenmore, on behalf of the Kenmore City Council, do hereby proclaim March 17th, 2025 as Rob Carlindsey Day.
Thank you, Your Honor. I appreciate that.
And we also have a, I'm not sure if he calls it a trophy or a plaque or something, but we'd like to present this to you as a council. So can we grab a photo and hand these off? Did you want to say a few words, Rob?
Sure, I would love to. I'm so overwhelmed and I don't know what words to say. I didn't expect all this. I'm so grateful to be able to serve this city. When you invest in a city like this, it's your home, and I care a lot about this city. And when you give something to us, just when you give of yourself to something, you love it and you care about it, right? Like think about your kids. Oh, this is Kenmore's maybe like one of my kids, my sixth kid. But we raised our family here for the most part. 4 of our 5 kids graduated from Inglemoor High School. And our first child graduated from Gig Harbor High School back in 2010. But it's really been a wonderful community. And I mentioned earlier that one of the things I loved about Kenmore was it is a city with so much potential. And it's not a perfect city yet. And the community recognizes that and is willing to allow for some change and for some improvement. And so that's what drew me to Kenmore. And I am so grateful for the city council members that did take a chance on me and allowed me to come here back in 2012. Bob, thank you for, even though I was your second choice or third choice, thank you for still voting yes on my contract. I appreciate that. And Glenn and David and Milton and Lori and Brent and others. I'm so grateful for the original city council. I've worked for 17 city council members here in the city of Kenmore. And they've all been a pleasure to work with. This council, these council members have all cared deeply about this city. They're all hardworking for this city. I do not take for granted the amount of support that the city councils have given me and my coworkers over the years. Very supportive when it comes to recognizing the work that public servants do and recognizing the value of public service. That's huge. That can never be taken for granted, especially in this day and age. So I'm grateful for that. And if you don't mind, I'd like to just go one by one down the thing and mention each of you. So John, thank you for keeping me on my toes, for asking the tough questions. I think you have a really good policy head on your shoulders, and I look forward with great anticipation for what you can continue to bring to this council. And I'm actually calling you by your first names. Is that okay just for tonight? All right. And what are you going to do? Fire me? Joe, you have an awesome command of the English language. You were an English major, and I just love your wonderful choice of words. But I also appreciate how you see the underlying assets that Kenmore has, and you want to keep them, and you want to make sure that we still have them. And that's such an important part of the equation. And another thing about you, and this goes for all of you, but Joe, you've often been in the minority vote of the city council, but you've maintained your class, and you haven't allowed disagreements to get at you and cause animosity within you. You still move on to the next vote. You still treat everybody with respect and kindness. And that's one thing I've really appreciated about you. And Valerie, yeah, I agree. I wish I could have worked with you longer. You're an incredible person. I love the fact that, you know, you were a midwife and you ran those clinics for all those years. I know a tiny bit about what goes into that career because I've had 5 kids. And Michelle, my beautiful wife here, might know a little bit too. We've had midwives, and what a caring, giving profession that requires love and sacrifice, and you bring that to the city council. You're one of the most compassionate, emotionally intelligent people I've met, and I'm so glad you bring that to the city. So thank you so much. Deb, we go way back. In fact, you go back way longer than me. You helped with incorporation back in 1998. You've served in so many capacities, planning commissions, so many volunteer capacities. I remember seeing you at pretty much every volunteer event. If you weren't on the city council, I would have been giving you a Super Co-Creator Award tonight because you are one. You single-handedly, well, with lots of help, but you lead a lot of co-creation events, including most recently the Kenmore Quad event over the last few years. You do that on your own volunteer time. I remember in the wake of the first For the Love of Kenmore event with Peter Kageyama, you put on, with Aline Fisher's help, you put on a big community celebration in the then vacant parking lot before the town center was, before the town square was built and the other buildings. And you put that on, and that was worth tens of thousands of dollars to the city, and yet you volunteered to put that on. You're constantly trying to find new and better ways to look out for the little guy and help people get swimming lessons and all sorts of things like that. And you also keep me on my toes. You're always asking me tough questions, and I need that. And so keep doing it. And Nigel, yeah, I remember, I didn't know what quite to think of you when you were in the audience and you were live tweeting our event, our council meetings, because we weren't recording them, or we weren't live streaming them, I should say. And so you thought it was important for the city to be live something, you know, and so you were live tweeting our council meetings. And so I got a Twitter account really quick. And so during the council meetings, I was watching what you were tweeting about as we were talking. And every once in a while I would say, oh, no, that's not quite right. And you would say, oh yeah, good point. And you would correct it. But then that was job number one when you got on the council and you said, we've got to start live streaming. We got to bring ourselves into the 21st century. And so you did, you led that effort. And then, you know, other than David, I think you've been the longest city council member I've served with. Maybe now you and David are tied for how length of service that I've served with, but you know, we've been through some tough times together. So when Caleb and Sarah died, that was such a rough time. But it was also a call to action. And you stepped up to that role so well as a council member, and you were a leader at the time. And you led the charge for us to adopt that Target Zero resolution. And because of what happened, because we took advantage of that moment and made a lot of changes that would have been really hard to make otherwise. So, and then there was Plantergate, and that sucked. And that was a few years after, and people were like, why are you doing all these traffic calming improvements? And then of course there was COVID, and then there's other controversial issues that have been brought forward that have really brought a lot of pushback in the community. But it's because you and your fellow council members have vision. You can, like Deb was saying, you can say, how can we make a better future? How can we create more housing opportunities for people? How do we look out for people who don't have a leg up? And you've been wonderful bringing that. And you've also been a great mayor because, you know, people think, oh, he's the mayor, he gets all these accolades and everything. But no, being a mayor is a tough job. And keeping everybody in line and keeping everybody behaving is part of your job, and you've done an outstanding job at it, and I really appreciate that. Melanie, we've also gone through some tough times. We've also gone through some special times together. I think you are a big dreamer, and I mean that in all the best ways possible. And you have a sense of not just the physical, but the metaphysical and the unseen, and ways of articulating that help me be inspired. And I think that there's been times where you see a way to go, but then you center yourself and you hear from other people and you take a step back and you're willing to change your mind and you're willing to consider other opinions. And I really appreciate all the support you've given to. You've been a very supportive city council member to me and to my coworkers. So thank you so much. And last but not least, Nathan, you are 1 in a million. Did you know that? Maybe 1 in, I don't know, 100 million. So you are light years ahead of where I was at your age. And the fact that you got appointed to a planning commission at what age? 16, probably the youngest, I'm sure at the time, the youngest planning commissioner in the state, if not in state history, and one of the youngest council members ever to be elected. And you might be among the youngest, or if not the youngest, city council member. And I've told you in the past that and I think more than one person has told you this, but you have what we call an old soul. And that is meant in all the best ways possible. You have maturity about you at your age that I wish I had, and you know so much more, and you have so much knowledge and emotional intelligence, and you care. You're not just trying to climb a ladder or anything. You're trying to make a difference, and you're trying to have impact. And I actually can say that about all 7 of you. If I had time, I would talk about all my coworkers and our incredible city attorney. And it really is the staff who makes things happen. I take direction from you, but then I'm just a talking head. And my coworkers are the ones who do the work. And they are, like you said, they are so committed. They're passionate public servants, and they get work done. They get stuff done. And I'm looking at just a few of them here. We have a lot more that aren't here tonight. But I have a really incredible leadership team. Those are the department heads and the deputy city manager. And we have been working really well together. We're not perfect. We have our little family spats. But I love how this team can speak up and tell me where I'm off track, or why are you doing it this way? And we have better outcomes because we have a leadership team that cares and can actually speak up and say, come on, we can do better. And that's one thing that I love about this leadership team, is they're constantly committed to continuous improvement. Debbie, you in particular, you have worked for the city since literally day one, since August 31st, 1998, which was the city's first day of incorporation. And she's sick of me telling the story, but Debbie, when she was brought on as a planner back in 1998, and what had happened is all these developers and builders had been waiting for the city to become a city because they didn't want to apply for permits with King County. And so when the city became a city on August 31st, 1998, and it was Debbie's first day, she was expected to take in all these permits over the counter on her first day. And I'm just thinking, wow, how did you even do that? And look how far things have come since then, and look and I'm sure you could tell lots of stories. Yes. So, and just, I want to thank my dear family, my incredible wife, Michelle. Michelle's here in the audience with my son, Ethan. Michelle, you've been so important to me in my life. You are my #1 person in my life. I love you so much. Thank you for being there for me. Thank you for being a shoulder to cry on. Thank you for listening and helping me figure things out. You've been a great sounding board, and you've been a great person to help me work things out. And I'm thankful for all my kids. I'll tell one, maybe this story may not be very inspiring, but one time, it was here in Kenmore. This was maybe 10 years ago or so, and all 5 of our kids were still with us, and except for my oldest daughter, and maybe she was home at the time, but we were going around at the dining room table and talking about what they wanted to be when they grew up. And Ethan, do you remember this? And they were all saying different careers. And I said, hey, I noticed that you didn't say city manager. Like why didn't you mention city manager? And they looked at me and they said, no way, Dad, you have to deal with crazy people. And I'm like, oh no, there's also plenty of wonderful people too. Sorry if I created that impression. But it is a tough job. You know, we've been through some tough times together. You mentioned the pandemic. Man, that was brutal. That was brutal. But I had the support of my team that helped us figure things out. And we were literally figuring things out every day. There was no playbook for us. We didn't have anything to go off of. We were wondering what other cities were doing, and they were wondering what we were doing. And we were wondering if sales tax was going to drop off a cliff, and it didn't, thankfully, and other things. But man, we've gone through some tough times, but we've also gone through some really rewarding times. And life is kind of like a bunch of pebbles that represent disappointments and boulders that represent successes. So I think you probably have a lot more little disappointments than you do successes. So the disappointments and the discouragements from day to day, they might outnumber your successes, but your successes outweigh your disappointments because they're boulders. And so that's what's so rewarding about this job is there's been lots of pebbles, but there's been been some incredibly wonderful boulders. But I just want to wrap things up by thanking this council and all the councils I've worked for having a good, clear vision of what they want. You guys do a good job every year of telling us what you want us to accomplish. And that is so important to us, really helps us. You create our marching orders for us. And there's a quote by Rosabeth Moss Cantor, and she said, "A vision is not just a picture of what could be. It is an appeal to our better selves, a call to be something more." And that's what you all have done. You have appealed to our better selves and called us all to be something more. And just last week, I got to see the 1972 version of The Man of La Mancha, based on the book Don Quixote by Miguel Cervantes. And you may know the character Don Quixote. He's a super overly optimistic guy who sees the good in everything, including Dulcinea and other people around him. And people actually think he's kind of crazy because he's just so positive and so constantly seeing good where other people don't see good. And they even called him a lunatic at one time in the story. But here's Don Quixote's response to being called a lunatic. He says, "When life itself seems lunatic, who knows where madness lies? Perhaps to be too practical is madness. To surrender dreams, this may be madness. And maddest of all, to see life as it is and not as it should be." That's you. That's this Kenmore City Council and all the city councils I've worked for. And so I ask you now tonight, what are your next mountains to climb? What are your next big dreams that you have? I know what they are, and I know you're in the middle of climbing some of them now. But continue to think like that. Continue to give us the vision and the inspiration we need to go forth and do the work that you set us out to do. So thank you so much to be able to serve this city. I really appreciate it.
Feels weird to ask this, but staff report?
I'm looking to Stephanie. Stephanie, do we have anything?
All right. Council member reports and comments. Councilmember Culver?
Free speech. Happy Monday.
Councilmember Marshall?
Thank you, Rob. May the road always rise up to meet you. May the wind be forever at your back.
Councilmember Sassen?
It's too hard to follow the poet.
Councilmember Shribnick?
You're here to the poet. Thank you.
Councilmember Lutzis?
keep doing great things. You always have a home here. And also just a staff-related thing, we did have a clean audit today, so I want to celebrate that with our staff. Passed that from State Auditor's Office, so thank you to all the staff who worked on that, and keep it up. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
Rob, thank you for 13 years of propelling Kenmore upward. Truly grateful and wishing you all the best.
And I'm not going to keep us from 192 1 second longer. So with nothing more to come for us, we are adjourned.